What foundational knowledge or skills do you think is required to get going?
Well, Python, right? So that is the programming language that dominates in the field of NLP. So if you want to get into NLP, you definitely have to learn to program in Python.
Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for Let's Talk NLP, the beginner's guide. My name is Dakota Nunley. I'm the content strategy manager here at Udacity, and I'm very excited to be joined today by Dr. Uohna Thiessen. She's a leading data scientist and AI strategist who has worked for various big tech companies and has a passion for demystifying all things AI. She also holds a PhD in epidemiology and has taught data science subjects, including machine learning, NLP, deep learning, AI at colleges and boot camps all around the globe. Dr. Uohna, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you today, Dakota.
I'd love to kick things off from the beginning. If you could give us some info around your background, your journey into AI, ML, data science, what inspired you to pursue this career?
Yeah, so I was always very curious, and I thought that I wanted to, at first I thought I'd be a mathematician. Then I did chemistry in my undergrad because I thought the secrets were in the molecules. And then I moved from that in grad school to epidemiology. And that's where I discovered statistics and data analysis. And that was what opened up the whole world for me. I realized that the drama was actually in the data. And so using statistics and then eventually all the machine learning techniques to just extract and analyze all the insights and all the stories that were in the data, that kind of became my passion. And so I just delved into that, learning more skills. And yeah, data science is now my playground, actually.
Always love the organic stories, how everything comes together. It's all meant to be. I'd love, just at a high level, what is natural language processing and why is it important, particularly in today's AI landscape?
Well, natural language processing is like the big thing today, right? NLP, it's all about computers being able to understand us and be able to communicate with us so they can understand our language, they can interpret it, they can even now regenerate or recreate it. And it's gotten so advanced that they actually are able to sound like us. So that's the whole technology of NLP, the bird's eye view, basically. Computers understanding our human language.
On that note, can you share some common applications of NLP that people might encounter in their daily lives, weekly lives?
Yeah, so, with chat GPT and all the other large language models coming on board a couple of years ago, everybody was all alarmed. But we've been using NLP, it's been a part of our lives for a long time. If you use any of the writing tools like Grammarly, that uses NLP, all of the those voice activated assistants like Siri and Alexa, those are based on NLP. And just Google's search engine, for a long time, they've been incorporating NLP into their search techniques. So it's really all around us in so many ways.
Great. And why is NLP considered one of the most challenging fields in artificial intelligence? Is there a specific reason for that or kind of more common knowledge?
No, it is because of how complex and ambiguous, I can't even say the word, all of the ambiguity in human language, right? It can take so many twists and turns, and language is always evolving. And so trying to get computers that speak in zeros and ones to understand our language, it has always been a challenge that researchers in all of the fields have been trying to conquer. But we've made a major headway, as you can see now, with AI sounding so human-like. It's almost uncanny.
I know every week there seems to be another musician who comes out with a song in AI. It's
Right.
a lot of fun.
It's
Some more fun
amazing.
than others, but
Right. I know. It's a
and
lot.
shifting into, for those folks who are interested in NLP and getting started, What foundational knowledge or skills do you think is required to get going?
Well, Python, right? So that is the programming language that dominates in the field of NLP. So if you want to get into NLP, you definitely have to learn to program in Python. But you don't have to wait until you are, skilled, some proficiency. You can start learning Python and learning NLP at the same time, because Python is one of those really beginner-friendly language. So you can start using the built-in functions, the pandas, the numpys, and doing some data analysis. And then at the same time, you can be using other Python modules like NLTK and some Spacey, or even simple things like word cloud, and start doing exploring basic NLP techniques. And as you do that, you start learning more, some of the machine learning algorithms, and then eventually get more in depth to learning NLP specific techniques. But you can start today with simple, NLP tasks right now.
I'm curious, with the rise of deep learning models in particular, how has the field of NLP evolved in recent years?
Oh my goodness, the evolution of NLP, like I said, I love drama, and the data is in the drama, but the NLP's evolution is also very dramatic, right? So we start off with Alan Turing in England trying to decipher the German text during World War II. And that led to his invention, as they call it, of the Turing test, or the imitation game, as he called it. At the same time, in the US, in Georgetown University, they were trying to decipher secret Russian codes. So you had all these people working on that. And so the combination of computer science and linguistics was really the birth of NLP. But they were using mostly matching and type of word rules to understand the language. And eventually that became ineffective, because at first it worked really well on simple things. But as they started doing more longer, complicated text, they realized that this is not going to work. And for years they worked on that. And, it was almost a decade later that things evolved where they were now able to apply statistics, my favorite, to this area of NLP. And then we had, with computation, the advancement in the computer science, that helped them now to be able to apply these statistical analysis techniques in mass using the machine learning, so they can process much larger amounts of data, extract more of the rules and all of the issues, or should I say the nuances in the language. And that made a significant difference. But even that kind of reached the limit at some point. And so eventually it was the invention of the artificial neural networks. And so with those models, the deep learning then took NLP to a whole new level, and it was able to do a whole lot more in terms of the understanding of the language, the translation of the language, the generation of the language, and that made a significant difference. But the real star of the show was a particular deep learning algorithm or architecture, is the Google transformer, and I think we'll probably talk some more about that. But that was the one that really kind of turned things upside down, as it were, and made such a huge difference. And so, Google released the transformer architecture information in their BERT model, and then OpenAI took that and developed ChatGPT, and the rest is history.
That's fascinating. And in terms of groundbreaking advancements in NLP, what sorts of advancements come to mind for you?
Well, you can't talk NLP advancements without talking about the transformer architecture. I know I mentioned that before, but it's such a amazing advancement in the field. But the transformer architecture had such a significant, it took the field of NLP several miles ahead with just that architecture alone, right? Because now we had the rules and the matching, then we had statistics and machine learning, then we had the deep learning and the neural network. But what the transformer architecture did was allowed for these models to read and to understand the text in parallel. So now it can understand the context a lot better. So think of it like before the transformer, the AI was reading the text like a goldfish, one word at a time. And now with the transformer, it can see the whole picture. And so it's gotten so much better, so much faster, so much more efficient, just making it so much different. Just the whole feel of it. And building on that technology now, with ChatGPT, then using things like reinforcement learning to make it even more human. And now we have the multimodal models that can not just do text generation, but it can also do code generation. And now we have image generation and video generation. And I mean, it just keeps going on and on. But it's all still built on that foundation of the transformer model and the idea of understanding the commands, the text command. And so now we have all of these technologies, including things like rapid translation into several different languages. And then we have multimodal, I said that already. We have explainer AI that is helping us to understand what these models are doing, because previously they were just like these black boxes. But it's just made such an adaptive, creative kind of leap and helping us to be able to understand everything in so many different sectors.
In terms of key concepts with NLP, can you briefly explain some of the key terms? Tokenization, sentiment analysis, text classification. We'd love your thoughts there.
Yes. So NLP is a process. It's a processing of the language, right? And so various stages, like a pipeline of steps that have to be followed. And so tokenization is one of the first steps, and that is breaking up the text into small fragments. So you would break the sentences into words and break those words into syllables or fractions or units. And those are then what is used to, they convert those into what we call some of the vectors, right? Because the computers do not understand language. So we have to change the text into numbers. And so it starts with the tokenization process, right? And after that, then there's the vector embedding and then all of the other steps in the process. So part of the processing of the text involves the tokenization. Then there is the stemming and the lemming, so removing all the suffixes and the prefixes and then getting to the root word. And then there are things like the parts of speech tagging, so whether it's a noun or verb or whatever other type of text it is. And then also there's like name entity recognition, so we can distinguish the apple fruit from the apple company and that kind of stuff. So that's part of it. There's a whole lot involved in the text processing. One of the great things is that Python programming language comes with all these built-in functions that do that for you. So you have tokenization functions and you have lemming functions and parts of speech tagging functions and stuff like that. And so once the text is broken up into pieces, converted into vectors, and that vector is made into a word embedding, which is like a multi-dimensional arrangement of the vectors in space, but it stores or captures the meaning of the word, the context. Right? So you think about it like a map. So if you have a word like king, it's placed near queen, or cat is placed near dog, those kinds of stuff. So it's broken up into those kinds of tokens or those kinds of embeddings. And that is stored within the vector. And so when you either make a question or a query, the model is then able to find the similar token and understand what you are asking, but also then be able to generate a response based on those vectors. That allows you then to do a whole lot of things. You can do, of course, language translation, because once you have those vectors, the model can regenerate or decode that into any language, whether it's English or Spanish or French, right? And then it can also do things like summarization or text classification, because then it's able to determine what is actually important to the meaning of the text and get rid of all of the stuff that's not important, and that allows it to condense. You can also do things like the sentiment analysis, right? Because now you can get an idea of what words are associated with happy versus words that might be associated with other emotions like angry or sad, stuff like that. And you can do text modeling and just a whole bunch of stuff now that once you have processed the language in those ways.
I'm curious, aligned with that, what role does pre-processing play in building effective NLP models?
Yeah, so I talked about all those steps, right, in the computer being able to use and understand our language. But if you think about how the text data comes, so it can be actual text from a phone, it can be text from Wikipedia, it can be news text, it can be you speaking. All of these texts, they come in very kind of a unstructured, messy way. And so the pre-processing is how you would then clean the text, standardize the text, reduce the complexity of the text, and just kind of make it better for the computer to use and to understand. So the pre-processing helps with the accuracy and efficiency of the text. Now, it doesn't completely clean everything, right? Because language is messy and always will be. But it does make a huge difference in terms of the model being able to generate the correct response or understand all of the, nuances or the context or all of these things. It's important, right? Otherwise, you end up with the model not understanding and maybe misinterpreting your request. And, we've all had that experience. So, the pre-processing is a very important stage. It's like, cleaning the text up before it can be used.
We touched a bit on this, but curious if you have anything else to add. How does NLP power technologies like virtual assistants and chatbots, recommendation systems?
Yeah, like NLP, it's like the foundation of those tools that you mentioned, right? So the virtual assistants, like Alexa and the others, they are powered by NLP, right? Because NLP is what allows them to be able to listen to your text, to understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, literally, right? So they could take the text, audible text, convert it to written text, and then that text is processed through all the steps that I mentioned before, and then it's able to extract the meaning. So then Alexa will be able to follow your command, whatever you say, turn off the lights, or I don't even know because I don't have a virtual assistant. I'm resisting, but it can follow your command. Some people use it for purchasing things. I'm not even sure. But the other things like the chatbots, right? Those are much more general in that they can be on like any website or any platform. And so now you can ask questions of these chatbots and they can understand the text that you're typing in, or now you can actually speak, and then it can figure out what it is that you're asking based on their understanding and then provide you with that information. All of that, it involves NLP. Similarly, the recommendation systems, they are able to analyze text like your reviews or your selections, your preferences, your description, any of those kinds of interaction textual data that you contribute. It is able to analyze that, process it, extract some summaries of it, and then use that to find similar interests or books or products or movie, or in the case of YouTube, it keeps sending you more and more videos like the one that you watch so that you will stay on YouTube forever and ever. But it's all based on NLP.
Yeah, they've really drilled in my recommendations too with all that. So yeah, NLP in action on YouTube.
Oh my God, it's crazy. And you want to know something? One of the best recommendation systems on the planet, I think, because it's so addictive, is that of TikTok, because they are able to, so unlike YouTube and other platforms where the videos are longer, it takes longer time for them to collect all of that information about your preferences and stuff. But because the TikTok videos are so short, they can collect massive amounts of interaction data from you. And then that algorithm starts crunching out things that you don't like or removing things you don't like and showing you more of what you like so that you end up staying up 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't do that, but my friends, no, I'm just kidding. I do that too.
Wow, that's fascinating. It has unlike other social media platforms, it has a slot machine feel because of the UX and UI of how it's so fat. You don't know what you're
Yes.
going to get next. So it makes sense now that it's so instantaneous. If I
I
look
know.
up a fishing video on YouTube, it immediately has fishing tactics on
All the
TikTok.
way down. I know. It's like, yeah, crazy. And so the thing about TikTok is that they were the ones who kind of pushed the envelope in exposing you to things that you may have some interest to, so not just exact match, whereas Facebook and others were only show you stuff from your friends and family and that kind of stuff. But TikTok was like, you like knitting? I'll show you everybody who knits. And then you find the knit TikTok or something, and you get sucked in. So now the other platforms are kind of doing that. They gave us, TikTok had released the bare bones of their recommendation algorithm, right? And some of the factors that go into it in terms of, how much time you spend on a video, the type of video, and your reaction to the video. And, there's a bunch of other things that they can do. But of course, the topic of the video is kind of like the main thing. And that is NLP is involved there in processing that information.
So we've talked about the history of NLP. We've talked about some groundbreaking advancements. I'd love to shift a bit into some challenges and opportunities for folks interested in the space. In your opinion, what are the biggest challenges researchers and developers face in NLP today?
Yeah, the biggest challenge right now is the bias in the models, right? And that's coming from the bias in the training data. So it's kind of half, of course, so built into the system that it's almost impossible to not have a bias system. I saw people today or the last few days talking about how biased DeepSeek is, but all of the models are biased, They all are trained on very specific data. And in addition to that, they all there are restrictions placed on all of the models by the makers, understandably, right? Because we know about in the beginning, that's where they would just ask all these ridiculous questions of the model, try to get it to say things that it shouldn't say, and just do things that it shouldn't do. There's one that's called like there's actually like a prompt injection. So they try to, in between the prompt that they're feeding, they put very specific like messages in between the text to get the model to go around the rules and the guardrails that are placed on it, And so those are some of the issues that the field is dealing with. So there's the hallucination, of course, where the model makes up things, right? Because it's trained to give you an answer. And the thing is that these models are probability models. So it's trained to give you the response that is the most likely response. And if in the question that you ask, it only has a very limited information base about that, it's just going to give you whatever it has, whether it's correct or not. And so that's on. So the bias is really, I think, the main problem. Then, of course, the hallucination, there's the issue of data, privacy, security. That's a whole another can of worms, like whose data was used to train what and that kind of stuff. And, the big thing that everybody's talking about with DeepSeek coming around is the computational cost, right? That has been that kind of like a barrier where, and even I said it, like I said, there's no way we a non-large conglomerate can train your own large language model. Cost tens of millions of dollars. Well, that may or may not be true anymore, So those are just some of the challenges that, I'm sure there are lots of people working on all of them.
Yeah, lots of challenges and exciting opportunities and everything. If we drill into the biases and the ethical concerns, where do you think NLP fits into that, and how does it address issues such as those?
Well, the first thing, of course, and the main thing is dealing with the bias in the data, there are lots of efforts in terms of reducing the bias in the data, bias detection, bias elimination. So just first treating the data, cleaning the data, or as it's called, curating the data. So having a carefully curated data set where you removed most of the bias. Now that is, as you can imagine, is difficult. But that is one area. Then so not only are the data set can be biased, but the algorithms can be biased as well, right? So reducing the bias in the algorithms. So trying to monitor or to actually detect or to identify areas of biases and then mitigate for that. But just in general, having more of a diverse source for the data set, and then also to having a diverse teams that work on these can really help mitigate some of the issues with the biases. And then with as far as the hallucination and the other stuff are concerned, we now have techniques, whether it's prompting or fine-tuning or RAG or knowledge graph, all of these are ways that you can significantly minimize the hallucination that's coming out from the model. But they're all still work in progress. It's not, 100% eliminated. So there's lots of room and lots of areas for more research and innovation as far as that is concerned.
We've covered a lot of the bells and whistles, the technology. If we go to the next step, let's say someone watching this is really amped, wants to get started, and wants to become an NLP practitioner. What beginner-friendly projects or data sets or resources would you recommend for someone learning NLP?
Yeah, there are so many, beginner type of tutorials online just for starting with Python. So Python is open source, so it's free for anyone. And you can go onto the Python website and they have tutorials on all of these different programming languages. So that's a place to start. And of course, you can go to some of the other sites like Kaggle. Kaggle has a lot of, small, simple, lots of projects that you can try out. And you can just, get some simple data set and start doing some things like building a small language translation or a sentiment analysis. Those are some of the kind of easier steps that you can take. And eventually, as you get more comfortable, then you can start venturing into things like chatbots and some of the more advanced NLP tasks. But Google Colab actually has some built-in exercises, and then Kaggle and then Python itself has exercises.
On that note, are there any, in your opinion, required online courses or really valuable communities when it comes to aspiring NLP practitioners or current practitioners?
Yes. Well, I happen to teach a course on Udacity that this is how did they say?
The shameless plug.
The shameless plug. There you go.
We love them.
So there are some free courses you can try, and just to kind of play around with and get a feel for what the field is like. But there are other also, including one of the persons that I follow is Andrew Ng, and so he has his platform, Deep Learning AI, I think is the name, and so he has some courses on there, some free stuff, lots of introductory things that you can try and play around with. But yeah, there's lots of resources. But I would encourage you to try to experiment, to play around. There's nothing to lose. You can't break anything. So, give it a go and see what you can create.
And this space, even as we were mentioning earlier with TikTok and DeepSeek, and I'm sure a month from now, there'll be another groundbreaking thing that sends the internet into a frenzy with,
right.
with how fast this NLP space moves and maybe AI generally. How can someone stay up to date? Is there a framework, protocols? Is it just by osmosis, by being involved in these communities?
Yeah, so just being involved in the communities, and it's almost unavoidable really at this point, because there's just always so much news going around. But I tend to look for, some AI blogs and then, I'm on the LinkedIn platform and, just because, again, this is NLP at work. So on my phone, when I, sign on either whether it's Google, Yahoo, or I forgot which is the news, it automatically gives me articles related to what I have read before. So it gives me a lot of AI, NLP stuff, right? So because it's using NLP to recommend stuff to me. And so it's pretty cool. But yeah, so there are lots of platforms like even Medium. They have nice articles for beginners that you can read. And then, just kind of staying aware. You can, of course, put alerts on your phone, on your computer to kind of alert you to when new things come up, but that for probably going off all the time, But yeah, so there are professional communities, like LinkedIn and other platforms where they have groups that you can join that are specific to that. But you can also then, I think maybe even Facebook and some of the other places has these groups that you can form that you can join that will always keep you abreast.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Uohna, for the time and insights and the liveliness today. We really appreciate it. And a big thanks to everyone for stopping by. And we hope that no matter what your professional goals are, we hope you uncovered some valuable insights during the discussion. And if you want to forge your future in tech, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Udacity YouTube channel. We're going to be putting a lot more content like this out there in the world. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye, everyone.